Today we're going to be talking about mapping, and I'm going to cover geocoding data, making kind of simple maps in Google Maps, and then making slightly more complex maps using Tableau. So when we're mapping, the main thing that we need to do is we need to convert our addresses into latitude and longitude. That's how maps think about where things are. And the process for going from addresses to latitude and longitude is called geocoding. And it's generally just a process where we're going to feed a bunch of addresses to some software, and it's going to give us back latitude and longitude. The easiest way that I know how to do this is in Google Sheets. So you might have been working in Excel or in Workbench, but we're going to come into Google Sheets to do our geocoding. And we're going to be using an add-on called Geocode by Awesome Table. It's the one that I've found that works pretty well. If you don't have it installed, you just go to Get Add-ons and install it, kind of like you would a browser extension. So if the other thing I've done here is I've taken our address column and just put city, state, and zip at the end, so that hopefully when we're geocoding, it has a bit better chance of recognizing the address and getting us the right coordinates. So if I come add-on geocode, all I'm going to say is start geocoding. I'm going to tell it what column has my address. So I'm going to tell it address full. Address full. And all I'm going to do is hit geocode. It's going to add columns for latitude, longitude, and it's going to start populating with my coordinates. And that's really it. I can save out this sheet as a CSV file, and then I am good to go. That's going to process, but this file shows what you get if you process all of those coordinates. So the simplest way to map is probably just going to be in Google Maps. So if you go to google.com/mymaps, you can create a new map here. I'm just going to open the one I already have. And then what we're going to want to do is import data into this layer. So the way digital maps work is we have what's called like a base layer or a tile set that's sort of the background, the states and the roads and everything. And then we have layers of our points or our shapes that we put on top of it. So I'm going to import my spreadsheet, which I should download. Let's see, so I'm going to download this as a CSV file. And I will then load that file into Google Maps. And I believe this was it. Alright, so it's going to tell me that that's a really big file, and that's fine. If you needed to reduce it, you could. And it's going to ask where the coordinates are. So obviously we have latitude, longitude, because we just geocoded, and we're going to, it wants to know what to label the points with, so we'll just label them with the apartment name. And then our map will populate. And so when we have a map like this, the first thing we're just going to be able to see is where our points are. So where are all of our apartment complexes? And that's what we're going to be looking at here. So something you can immediately see is we've got a couple bad addresses. So I might want to come in here and look at these, maybe go back to my data, change them, geocode again. So this is actually a way of cleaning your data. But once we have our good data, we can start to see where things are, how they're clustered, how they're dispersed. Things get a lot more interesting though when we start coloring our points. So if we start looking at them in relation to other variables. So if I click here on uniform style, I can say I want to style by a data column. And there's kind of two ways this will work. So we have something like value. So value is a numeric column. And so here it's saying, is this categories or is it a range? And it's a range. So you could have any value from, 0 to however many. And I can pick here how many different color gradations I want. So now I can see, okay, where are the valuable complexes? Well, it looks like they're up, kind of clustered here. It looks like these aren't very valuable. These are valuable. So you kind of have the outskirts. So I'm starting to notice patterns already. The second thing that we might color by is actually a categorical value. So rent by the bed, yes, no, that's categorical. All right, we only have two options. So instead of a gradient here, we can just have categories here. So no, yes, or no value. And now I can start to see, okay, it looks like there's a lot of rent by the bed stuff happening up here, not a lot happening here. That might be interesting. So that's what I can do with Google Maps. It takes 5 minutes, and you've got a map that you can start exploring. If we want to go further, we'll be working in Tableau. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to our data file. Connect to this one. So this is my file that already has my latitude and longitude in it. I can see right here, and these little globes here tell me that it has recognized these as latitude and longitude. So if I go here, all I have to do to create a map is drag up my latitude and longitude, and I always forget which order they go in, but it looks like longitude goes in columns, latitude goes in rows. So you'll see here I only have 1 point, and that's because my measures are currently being aggregated, so it's just kind of averaging the points. But if I uncheck that, I now have my same map that I had before. If you need to pan in Tableau, you can hold down Shift and click and drag. So the first thing I'm probably going to want to do is change my map. So if I come here to Map Layers, I can turn on streets and highways, but I can also change to a street map, which makes this a lot more comprehensible. All right. Other than that, the two main things that I can do on maps is I can color my points and I can size my points. And that's really sort of the options you have. So before we were doing something like we were saying color by the value. Okay, so I can do that in Tableau. It's easy. We see kind of the same thing that we saw before. But now I can also say, okay, I'm interested in value of the apartments, but maybe I'm also interested in whether value has any relation to police reports. So I can say, okay, I'm going to size it by police reports. And now I can start to see, okay, where are a lot of my police reports, and are there any patterns there with the value? Or maybe I want to color by whether it's an ACTA Ally member or not. So I'm interested in ACTA Ally and police reports. And I can bump this up if I want to. Okay. So that's largely what you can do. A lot of times in Tableau, you'll probably be making multiple maps because you can really only put two things. So I might want to have another map where I'm looking at just the value of apartments and kind of flicking between them. Something like that.